Welcome to the Transform with Angel show. I'm Angel Carlton Anderson, and I am so glad you are here for this episode. Today, we're diving into a topic that has touched us all. The recent tragedy of the UnitedHealthcare CEO, Brian Thompson's shooting, and the larger issue of corporate greed in the healthcare industry. Now, I know that this event has shocked many. And it's easy to react with disbelief and sadness, especially for the loss of a husband and a father. But before we dwell into that space, let's take a moment to lift our perspective and see this event for what it may truly represent: a catalyst for transformation. Like many transformations in life, it often begins with a crisis, a trauma, or a shocking event. This incident, though very tragic, is a perfect example of transformation happening right before our eyes. I truly believe that these two souls had a prior agreement. Yes, Brian Thompson and his shooter. The agreement or soul contract before coming into this physical realm as a human being to play their parts in humanity's evolution. Because where we're going as a society, greed cannot exist. Corruption cannot exist. And evil simply will not have a place. We are witnessing the unraveling of these old systems that no longer serve us. And I believe this tragedy occurred to help lift the veil, showing us what must change to better serve humanity. This is part of a much larger evolutionary process, one that cannot be tampered with. It's important to remember nothing happens by accident, and there are no coincidences. Everything unfolds as it is meant to be. Even the timing of when we choose to enter this world and when we choose to leave this world. This fascinating topic of predestination is one I'll save for another time. But today, let's talk about the deeper message this event carries and how we can be a part of this great transformation. So thank you for being here. Let's dive in. Let's start by talking about healthcare, because this is where corporate greed, especially in the United States of America, really hits home for most of us. Ever feel like you're paying an arm and a leg just to keep your other arm and leg healthy? Seriously. It's like you have to choose between getting a checkup or buying groceries. What's crazier is that these skyrocketing costs aren't because doctors are getting rich. It's giant corporations who are pocketing billions of dollars while we stress about medical debt. For instance, UnitedHealthcare, one of the biggest insurance companies out there, has made it clear that their priority is profits, not patients. The fact that there was a recent incident where the CEO was shot really tells you how much tension there is around this issue. Now, I'm not saying that violence is ever the answer. Let's make that super clear. But it does shine the light on how broken the system is and how desperate people are becoming. Desperation leads to dangerous actions. The kicker? These CEOs are making decisions that directly affect our lives. Yet most of them wouldn't know what it's like to struggle with a $5,000 deductible or choose between paying rent and buying life-saving medications. They are so far removed from the realities we face, it's no wonder they can sleep at night. We, on the other hand, are wide awake, wondering how we're going to make it through the next medical bill. The truth is, the shooting of Brian Thompson may serve as a harsh wake-up call, a signal that the system cannot continue as it is. This is the first stage of transformation, the realized stage. Transformation often begins in moments of crisis, trauma, and sadly, this tragic event might be the catalyst needed to shake up the way healthcare is doing business. For far too long, the focus has been on profits while people, patients, have been treated as numbers on a balance sheet. This act of desperation reflects the deep frustration so many feel with a system that puts corporate greed ahead of human lives. Perhaps now, faced with this violent wake-up call, the industry will be forced to re-examine its priorities and start putting the focus back where it belongs, on the health and well-being of the people they were supposed to serve. Change can come from tragedy, and maybe, just maybe, this is the push that is needed for healthcare to finally transform into a system that cares. So, why is this happening? Why are these corporations so greedy? The answer is simple: because they can be. Corporations have more power and influence than ever before, thanks to a combination of government deregulation, lack of accountability, until now. And let's face it, a system that rewards greed. Corporate lobbyists line the pockets of politicians who are more concerned with getting reelected than actually serving the people. The healthcare industry, in particular, is a beast. Think about it. Insurance companies, pharmaceutical giants, hospitals. I mean, all of them are intertwined. And they've figured out a way to make sure we stay dependent on them. The more we need them, the more they profit. And who's letting this happen? Well, it's not just one group. It's a combination of government leaders, again, until now, the corporate executives themselves, and yes, even us, because we've been conditioned to think that this is just the way things are. It's like they've built this giant hamster wheel for us to run on, but instead of a little treat at the end, we get these outrageous bills and a headache from fighting the system. They're convinced that we need them, that we're powerless without their protection. But that's just not true. So who is going to stop this madness? Will the new U.S. government leadership finally step up to the plate and save the day? Look, I'll be honest. There's some hope that we'll see real change with the new administration. And surprisingly, it seems like Donald Trump, for all his flaws and controversies, has shown an interest in tackling this issue. He's been talking about reforming healthcare, lowering prescription drug prices, and shaking up the status quo. But let's not hold our breath. Politicians have been promising to fix the healthcare system for years. They make big speeches, hold press conferences, and then what happens? A whole lot of nothing. Or worse, they pass legislation that sounds good on paper, but ends up benefiting same corporate interests they claim to be fighting against. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't expect change from our leaders. We absolutely should. But we can't just sit around waiting for them to save us. We have to be part of the solution. And that starts with taking control of our own health and well-being. Okay, So now that we've tackled the problem, let's talk about what we can do to adapt and take charge. Because the last thing we want to feel like are victims of this broken system, right? We can't depend on the healthcare industry to prioritize our health. So we need to prioritize it ourselves. First, let's talk about prevention. The best way to avoid falling into the healthcare trap is by focusing on our health before it becomes a problem. That's eating well, staying active, managing stress. These aren't just cliches. They are genuinely powerful tools for staying healthy. When you take care of your body, you reduce your reliance on a healthcare system that's set up to drain you financially. Second, let's be smart consumers. If you do need healthcare, and let's face it, we all do at some point. I mean, the human body is going to break down on occasion. Shop around. Just like you would for a new car or a new TV, compare prices, ask questions, and don't be afraid to push back. We have more options than we think, but the system banks on us just accepting whatever is put in front of us. Third, we have to start building communities that support one another. Whether it's through local healthcare initiatives, community gardens, or just sharing knowledge with each other, we can create networks of care that reduce our dependence on corporations. The more we lean on each other, the less we need to lean on a system that's trying to profit from our pain. Finally, let's not forget the power of our voice. We need to keep putting pressure on our leaders, local, state, and federal, to push for real healthcare reform. Don't underestimate the impact that letters, phone calls, and voting can have. Change happens when enough people demand it. So where does that leave us? Yes, corporate greed is real. And yes, it's hurting people. But this moment is about so much more than just acknowledging pain. It's about understanding that we're standing at the crossroads of a profound transformation. We are not powerless. In fact, we are powerful beyond measure. And now is the time to evolve to a higher level of consciousness, to become more aware than ever before, both in how we see these events and how we choose to respond to them. Transformation is happening all around us, and it's happening at an accelerated pace. We can no longer sit on the sidelines pretending that changes in our world don't affect us, because they absolutely do. The new world that is unfolding doesn't have room for greed, corruption, or injustice. But for us to step into that world, we must rise above these lower vibrations ourselves. It's time to prepare mentally and spiritually for a future where we no longer accept systems that harm us, because we've collectively decided we won't stand for it anymore. In the meantime, let's focus on what we can control. Let's take care of our health, support one another, and always push for systems that prioritize people over profits. This is how we lay the foundation for a new reality. Together, we can and will create lasting change. I firmly believe this, and we are definitely stronger together. Until next time, remember to stay healthy, stay strong, and stay aligned with the transformation that's happening right before your eyes. And before we wrap up with an affirmation to lock in everything we just talked about today, Be sure to subscribe to my channel. Share this message with someone. Hit that like button and leave a review. And be sure to visit transformwithangel.com to download your free book, How to Conquer Anything, and check out the Personal Growth tab for all of the self-mastery courses that can help you get you where you want to go and help move you through the transformation happening in your life and in our world today. All right. Take a deep cleansing breath to clear the mind of all the clutter and concentrate on these words. Repeat them after me. Say them with conviction. I am in control of my health and my well-being. I choose to nourish my body, my mind, and my spirit. I release the grip of systems that do not serve me. And I trust in my ability to create a healthier, stronger future for myself and my community. I have the power and I will use it wisely. Take another deep breath and let it sink in. Well, that's a wrap on today's episode. If you enjoyed this conversation, or if it made you think differently about healthcare, corporate greed, or your own health, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts. So leave a comment. What are you doing to stay healthy in a world run by corporate greed? Let's keep this conversation going. And until next time, be safe, be healthy, be the best version you can possibly be of yourself. Imagine a world where we were all our best selves. Let's start with you. Let it start with me. I'll see you next time. Sending love.